Hey guys, welcome to LITTLEBLACKBOOK91. We are here giving you guys a video, an interview, a talk, a conversation with Hussein from Ready to Love. Listen, this season has been intriguing. They've taken us on a little bit of a ride and got the roller coaster stuck at the top of it and said, listen, hold off for a little bit for a few months.
Definitely been a roller coaster.
So it has been a roller coaster, isn't it? So it's been crazy. It's been crazy. So, but it's good to have you on here. And
thank you. I appreciate it. Was looking forward to this.
No worries at all. No worries at all, Captain. But look, before we get into any festivities and any conversation, we want to do some icebreakers. Is that okay?
All right, let's get it. Let's go.
Yeah. So we're going to do some human verification. My first question.
You said human verification.
My first question is Android or iPhone?
iPhone. Yeah, I've been an iPhone user for the past years. I actually tried Android once, so I ain't gonna say I never tried it, but it just wasn't for me. I guess I kind of just got used to the Apple operations. That when I tried the Android, it was just like, nah, I'm cool. I'm going back over here. I gave him a shot though. I gave him a fair chance.
You tried. That's all we can offer.
I gave him a fair chance. I ain't against it. I prefer my blue bubbles, you know.
I ain't mad. Listen, I ain't mad. I got both, so I'm not gonna complain.
Yes, sir.
If you were on a flight,
okay,
and they had to make an emergency stop to any country in the world, which country would that be, and why?
We're going Africa. That's why I ultimately want to, visit and go see the motherland, see, the animals in their natural habitat besides a zoo. Just go back home, touch the land.
Okay. Yeah. Any particular country in Africa?
No, I can't say a particular. If I could hit them all, I love that. Even if I need an escort, to be safe or whatever. But I love to touch them all.
Okay, cool. Yeah. No worries at all. Third and final question.
Okay.
Actually, I tell lies. Second to last.
Woo, here we go.
Chicken, beef, pork.
You had to add the pork one in there. I tell you this, I'm a pork lover. I love me a fried pork chop. But if I had to pick between chicken and beef, it's going to be the beef. I love me a good steak. But I'm a pork eater. And it's crazy, even with the name Hussein.
Yeah.
I got to put that joke in there. I got to. But, having a Muslim name, I eat pork.
I love that. I love that.
And fried pork chop.
Listen, same here, bro. I'm with you, bro. I'm listening later on.
Yeah.
And final question is for yourself, milk or cereal in the bowl first?
You asked Cam this one. I thought about that. For me, it's the cereal first. But I ain't gonna hold you. When we got them broke days and you got just this amount of milk left, I will put the milk first just so I could, know how much cereal, because I don't want to, drown the milk. Fill up a whole bowl and then you're doing the crack from Friday to. So, yeah, I'm going cereal first.
I definitely hear that. It definitely happens. I saw the vision, so I can see it.
Going cereal first.
Cereal first, indeed. I hear that. So obviously you've passed our human verification. We believe you're human. Okay. But before we get into any of the Ready to Love festivities, which we'll get into a little bit later on, we do need to get to know you a bit better.
Get to know me.
You're somebody outside of the show who had a life before this, so we want to get to know you a little bit better before we get onto the show. So I guess my first question for you is, who is Hussein? What is your story?
Who is me? I'm really just, a laid back dude from Philly. Humble, calm demeanor, what y'all saw honestly on the show is, who I am. It's not too far fetched from that. A creative, still trying to figure, a couple of things out with life, trying to figure out, which route I'm going. I'm an entrepreneur, businessman. I will mainly say that's it. Yeah.
And you said obviously your name is a Muslim name. How did we come to that name? How did your parents come to that name? Yeah.
So my dad was Muslim. So I have on his side, man, there's about 6 brothers I have, and we all have a Muslim name. Yeah, he named all of us. My mom ain't had nothing to do with that.
She ain't got a choice in it.
Nah, she ain't had nothing to do with that.
Yeah. I love that. So obviously as young men, obviously a name is a very powerful thing. I don't know what Hussein actually means. Is there a meaning behind it?
Yeah, handsome. Yeah, handsome king. What's crazy? Well, me and my mom text. She, now that we're in a better place, that she always lead with that. Hey, king. and stuff like that. So yeah.
I love that. So okay, so you are someone who, I know you mentioned even on the show that you was into like interior design and stuff, right? Like
Yes, sir.
you got that creative spirit in you. Yeah. So is that has that always been a vision for you? Interior design, something, has that always been a natural affinity, or is it something that came a little bit later on?
It's always been a thing. As a kid, especially with my dad, we did a lot of traveling. I was always in hotels, doing like family reunions, family trips and stuff like that. And whenever I would walk into a hotel, it would just grasp my attention. And, I'm looking around and, how they had things set up. So I think that's where it came from. And I always said, once I got my own spot and, could do my own thing, I want to make sure, I did that. So that's where it started at.
I love that. What is it that you love about, of course your eye catches things and you can see these things, but what is it that inspires you with interior design and creativity in that space?
The creativity part about it is really just, taking different things and, pulling them together, really just taking nothing and turning it into something. Because, everybody don't have an eye for it. So to have it, like I can walk into a store. IKEA is one of my, big stores that I go to, and I see pieces, man. And, I put them together. I'll catch a corner. And I love when I got a challenge. I'm like, damn, what am I going to do with that space? Kind of like the space behind me. I really stand there and just be like, and kind of, see it through. And that gives me a chance to, put my creativeness to work.
Is that creativity coming from, because, sometimes we inherit these, not even sometimes, a lot of times we inherit skills and traits from our parents. Is that coming from your mom's side, dad's side, is that both sides? Like, where's that kind of creativity birthed from?
I'm going to say my mom's side, more so like the cleanliness, the creativity, I'm going to put that all on me. But as far as the cleanliness, because it all comes from my mom's side.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, so I guess I got to ask a question, because like I said, you mentioned straight away, first of all, was that, there's 6 brothers, or 6 of you, that was only from your dad's side at least, as well. And we've mentioned your mom a little bit as well. Relationships with parents are a massive thing because they influence us to how we see the world and how we move through the world as well. It sounds like obviously your dad, well, it sounds like, doesn't mean that's what it is, but it sounds like your dad had a good influence on you. What was the relationship like with you growing up with your father?
So with my actual birth father, he wasn't there, but my stepdad, all praise to him, he was there, and I got to see, first and foremost, a hardworking man. That man worked a lot. And other than that, he was just, so athletic. And if I had to put like a word on it, he was passionate about everything, especially when it came to sports. His delivery, everything was just with like such passion. You know what I mean? So yeah, if I had to describe him, that's what it was. Just a passionate person, man. And I feel like I took on a lot of that, from him. The caring side, definitely caring. He would have his own life going on and a lot of things that he was doing, but he would make sure he always tapped in. And, with his mom and stuff like that, he always had like stuff that they would have set up. Like Mother's Day was a big thing for him. He always made sure for Mother's Day he had a present for her, and that would always be a hat for church and some flowers. Like every Mother's Day we could bank on that from him. And, that was just something that I paid attention to.
I love that. What would you say is one of the one major influence your father had in your life that you can see has birthed fruition in your life?
I would say caring.
Okay.
Yeah, really just taking the time to understand a person. And I ain't gonna say, it's easy. Sometimes it's difficult, and sometimes I'll be wanting to just be like, throw it away sometimes, you know what I mean? But just that caring side sometimes. Yeah.
Okay. And that caring side, sometimes people can it can get you into trouble. Sometimes it can do well for you as well.
Right.
What is your experience?
That part where you gotta, yeah.
So what's your experience been like being someone who has to be very caring in this world, which is seemingly a cold world, as Joe Cole would say? It's a cold, cruel world. How's your experience been being a kind person?
With that, is the ultimate thing with that is just trust. Knowing the people that surround you. Because, some people can take advantage of it with it being a cold world. So you just got to understand that just allowing people, and this is something that I said on the show, just allowing a person to be who they are and expect, hoping that a person will grow, but expect nothing more until they show you that, So you definitely got to be careful with that, that caring side. So that is something, definitely people will take advantage of.
Totally understand. Yeah. Now, obviously, you touched on it lightly. You don't have to go too deep if you don't want to go too deep. It's always up to you how you feel. But you mentioned, obviously, you and your mom being in a better place now, which means there's been a change and there's been a shift.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I said, I always ask people these questions because we want to understand where you're coming from. What was your relationship like growing up with your mom? Because, you know, boys and their moms, big thing. What was your relationship growing up with your mom as well?
Yeah, you know, growing up, we was with being me and my two other brothers, you know, on my mom's side, we was a tight-knit family. Like, my mom always pushed family, you know, and I love her for that. We always took like trips to the mall. I would say darn near every Saturday we was going to the mall, going shopping and stuff like that, going to the movies, going to the park. We got a spot out here called South Street where everybody go to. It was more so famous back then than it is now. And we traveled there a lot, so we was very tight. I want to say it wasn't until later when, and I always say like from, you know, baby boy, mama got to have life too. It's not just her kids. That's when, I guess, just being a kid and used to a set way and used to a set plan that we always had. Now when mama trying to add her life in there, it caused, I guess, you know, a little hiccup that I didn't understand as a kid and caused, you know, a little battle between us. But recently, you know, we've made up and, you know, we talk now and we got everything together.
What was it for you that you were trying to understand, or what was a lack of understanding, like you're saying, like for you, that you had to grow into?
With my mom, I would have to say the understanding was, I guess, the dating, because men weren't around when I was younger. So now when they're coming around later, it's kind of like, wait, you're taking my time. You know what I mean? That's wait, no, where y'all going? Like, wait a minute. So it was just, you know, dealing with that. And, you know, just being a guy yourself, and, you know, now mom's dating, you know, you got to check on them too. You know what I mean? Who's this guy and stuff like that.
Gotta make sure mom's cool. I understand.
Yeah.
Totally understand that. Okay, cool. I get that. So for then, obviously, you know, because that then relates into dating and stuff like that later on, which I'll come to in a second or two. So what was Hussein like, you know, going through high school, going through, if you went to college or whatever, what was Hussein like at that point? In your developmental years, going into being a man, what was that like for you?
You know, it's crazy because with the group home situation, where I'm sure we'll tap on that later, and that was through the high school period. Dating wasn't really there in high school. It wasn't, I would say, till college when dating really started. Through high school, it was more so just basketball. Basketball in class. That's really all it was. The girls was there, but because of, you know, if I had to expand on it, being in a group home, it's not like you're out and about. So I can't make plans. I can't do certain things. I can't say, hey, we're going to the movies and stuff like that. So I kind of, and to be honest, kind of like intentionally didn't. Because of that, you know, knowing right after school was done, I had to, you know, report back there. And it's just, I never want to take the time to explain to somebody or disappoint someone because I couldn't put that time in that you're going to want from me. But then, you know, later on in college, things changed, and that's when the dating really started.
What was that like for you navigating that space, knowing, not even say knowing, just say navigating that space that for you, you had made a decision that, you know what, I can't necessarily give my all in that space because I know I've got, like I said, I've got to report back in. Like, what was that like navigating that space? Because you're still young, right? You're still trying to navigate life.
It was difficult. I was trying to understand it. I'm in high school, you know, I watch TV a lot, and, you know, we see what's supposed to be happening in high school, and you think that that's going to, you know, be your life through it. And then I got to high school, and I would just say it was, for high school, for me, it was a culture change. I started high school in West Philly High or whatever, and then I went out in the county, in the suburbs, where it was a different crowd. So I had to adjust to that as well. So I want to say that also was just like, I was going through high school, just trying to figure it out.
For you, what were you figuring out? Because I know that for at that time, I was trying to figure out how to be a little bit more cool out here. You know what I mean? I was always middle ground, but, you know, you're trying to figure out what was it that you were trying to figure out for you first?
I was trying to figure out where I fit in, you know, because with it being so different from West Philly High, being in, you know, the urban community, and now I'm in the suburbs. I had to, first it was like, how do I even communicate? It was that was something where I'd even, you know, speak to people. So it was all that adjustment going on. And then, like I said, when you do have the girls, it's like, damn, they're coming on to me, but I can't even go out. Sheesh, what I'm gonna do? All right, I'll see you in my dates, honestly. And if it was during class time or a couple minutes after school. that was really it. Or at the game. I'll see you before or after the game. But as far as like, you know, really dating and getting a chance to go out and get to know someone, that really wasn't there.
What was the impact of that then? Having to move that way. What was the impact on you? What was the impact on even you on other people? What was the impact for you?
I would say that the biggest impact, if I had to jump till now, was really, and I want to be completely honest, the impact was, it felt like it shifted things that I was doing things behind the 8 ball a little bit. If I'm explaining it right, it just felt like things were just happening a little later than it was supposed to happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that does make sense in the sense,
Yeah,
like I said,
so,
you're having to delay things.
Yeah, when the dating did start, it was kind of like I jumped into it and I wanted to date. You know what I mean? Because it was just like, well, now it's here. I might as well do this, do that, and that. Versus getting to know just a person and, you know, going smooth selling from there. I just felt like I'm taking advantage of all opportunities now because I can. Yeah.
Where did that lead you to then? So now you're in that space where you want to just be able to just taste a little bit of everything then, just understand different flavors. You know what I'm saying? It's like you've been stuck with vanilla all your time, and now there's chocolate, there's strawberry, there's pistachio, there is all these kind of flavors.
Yeah.
Where does that lead you to then? Having to now in your exploration, where does that lead you to?
That led me to, I guess, dating too many people at once and stretching myself thin. Yeah, I wouldn't want to say that was the biggest thing it led me to, stretching myself thin. Like I said, because the opportunity wasn't there before, it was just like, now I got it. You know, I'm gonna take full advantage of it.
So you understand? Okay, so let's route this a little bit too. Obviously, we did find out, and you mentioned a little bit here as well about going into a group home, and you mentioned that with Rose as well. I think you guys were discussing some stuff as well, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't mind talking about it, what happened that you were in a group home? Because fast and concerned, we went from mom to dad, and then now group home. So what happened that?
So basically, how did I get there?
Home? Yeah.
So it was a situation of like like I explained, my dad wasn't involved in my life and he wasn't around or whatever. So with my mom dating and me just, I guess, lost at that time. I wasn't gonna say I was a troubled kid, but I felt like I was trying to get attention that wasn't there. Being the middle child, you know, my dad not involved. It was just like I felt like I was forgotten almost. So I started to stray and just do dumb things or whatever. So then, you know, with my mom with the dating and stuff like that, she came across a guy that me and him, and this is just being honest, we totally, you know, just bump heads. And she was living with him at that time. So, you know, her just making, you know, a fast decision or whatever, I guess she thought that was the best decision because I didn't have somewhere else, a secondary family, you know, to go to. And her, I will say she was trying to break off from that situation at that time, but a woman in love is, you know, something that us as men will never understand, you know what I mean? So I feel like she was dealing with that and she made a, you know, a fast decision, which led to our hiccup. Cause I was just like, damn, that was the decision you made. So yeah, that's how I, you know, ended up there. It wasn't a situation of me out here being, you know, a knucklehead or anything like that. And that's what led to when I was there, when all the kids that were in there, and I read their folders and stuff like that. And I'm just like, dang, he got this going on. He got this going on. And I'm nowhere close to that. Why am I even here? But, you know, I was. So I had to, you know, make do.
What was your experience being in that group home? Like I said, as you've kind of used that analogy of looking at the files and kind of seeing that people having so much different experiences in life that is much more vaster in seriousness than yours.
Yeah.
What was that experience for you navigating and going through a group home?
Whew. Man, my experience in there was, I don't think it ever became my reality. I felt like I was there, you know, just physically. And if I had to expand on it more, it was, man, like I noticed the difference in myself.
Okay.
And, you know, so it was just like, I'm here, let's just make the best of it. What I'm going to do to get through this. So I built relationships with the kids, man. We had guys in there, you know, of course, we ain't going to use no names and not like that, but guys that like couldn't read. So they'd be getting notes and I'd read them for them. We had kids that couldn't write and they trying to write back home to, you know, their girlfriend or their family and stuff or whatever. And I sit down and I'd be writing their stories for them because it's like they couldn't really, you know, put it together. So it was really just in there. And then basketball came along. I was in there as well. We had like a basketball team and stuff like that. So that's where basketball like really started. And I built, you know, relationships through that, you know, with playing basketball.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did that change your perspective, having to be of service for other people who are in need, like other young people? Like they're young, they're not, no, these are young people like yourself.
Yeah, really just being appreciative of the, you know, the education that I got and the skills that, you know, I gained, realizing the gap between myself and a kid that's my same age and don't know how to do. So it was never a thing of me feeling like they were, you know, less than me or anything like that. I had, like I said, I had great relationships with them. It was just while I'm in here, like I said, let's make the best of it. How can I help you while I'm in here? Because I think me doing that helped me as well while I was there. It helped me cope with it. Yeah, for sure. Helped me cope with it. Like, man, I'd be in there playing basketball and the guys being there watching me, they were wild. So it's kind of like whenever we had gym time, I knew that was my time, you know? So it was kind of like I'd be playing, they'd be watching me and stuff like that. So, and like I said, they helped me. So it went both ways.
You said they helped you. What was it that the biggest, I know you said about a kind of takeaways, but what was some of the biggest help that they offered you in terms of what you gained from those relationships?
I would say a sense of toughness. Learning how to navigate now in that space. Because you ask me, and it's funny to say it, but I feel like a group home is nothing but a jail for kids. And that's being blunt, you know what I mean? Of course, not the bars and the cages and stuff like that, but it's essentially, you know, really the same thing. I had guys that looked out for me because, of course, you go in there, guys going to try you and stuff like that. And not that I was one to be tried, but guys get around you and they just feel like, oh, but this is a good dude and he do this, that for me. I feel like I owe him a favor. I'll make sure that he's good and stuff like that. So it was always that too. Yeah.
Wow. It's quite intriguing to kind of hear that perspective of that experience.
Yeah, man, it was definitely an experience.
How did that? Well, I didn't ask. I don't know if you want to share it, but how long were you in the group home for?
No, I'm open. So I want to say the process started for me. I was about 12, 13 years old.
Okay.
And it went all the way until, I know on the show they say till college. It went all the way. I was there until I graduated high school.
Okay. So a good couple of years.
Yeah.
Being in that space. Oh, so go for it. Come to you. Sorry.
Now, I was going to say some main years, like, you know, like you just said.
Yeah, and it's your formative years. It's how. See, I'm intrigued because now I'm like, so how does that?
I'm an open book, man.
How does that impact the way that you, or should I say rather, like, what was your feelings at that time then, in that period of time, towards both mom and dad? Because regardless of whether dad's there or not there, mom's not there, there's gonna be some sense of feeling, because now you are the one having to take steward of your life in a group home. What was your feelings and sentiments towards your parents at that time?
For my dad, it was just like, damn, where you at? You know what I mean? Like, damn, like I could use you right now. Like, tell me something. For my mom, it really just, like I said, that's when the issue started. Because in my head, it's really like, damn, like you kind of tossed me to the side for this guy. And like I said, and this is just being a kid. I mean, like I said, we're talking about at that time. That's your mind, that's your thought process at that time. Like, damn, this guy is more important to me, that you chose him over me. That was my ultimate thought. So it was just like, we went a long time not even speaking, you know, so because I had that grief. But now, you know, being grown and dating and, you know, being active and stuff like that, I get it. I get it, and now like I give her total grace, and you know, I'd be open to our conversation and stuff like that, because I'm not completely, but I kind of understand now.
My thoughts is that I'd be angry. I can't lie to you, and because I coach a lot of people.
Oh no, man, I was. That's what I said. That was where I don't want to be too harsh, but I was angry. I was mad. Yeah, I was pissed. You know, like I said, I had my time where, like I said, that's why we didn't speak at all, because I felt like if we did speak, I might have said the wrong thing, or speaking might have triggered me, or I just really didn't have no conversation. So why talk? Because I got to figure out what I'm going to do. And especially when I was in a group home, it really cut, because I didn't want to have those conversations, because being in there, you got to be tough. And I didn't want to be in there on the phone talking to her. And because all my questions to her would have been is, when you coming to get me, why am I not home?
Mm.
And I knew that that wasn't coming anytime soon. So just like, well, I'm here. Let's just buckle down and get through this.
Where did your anger go? Because you got to put it somewhere. So where does the anger go?
It went to basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Also in there, we had therapy.
Okay.
We did that once a week. I'd sit down with my therapist. We just have, conversations, talk about, my process so far, how's things been going for me. We talk about basketball. We talk about life. We didn't really get too deep. I think she knew that I was okay. She was just like a check-in. Majority of the time when I was there, we wasn't talking about basketball, or I was just sitting there relaxing. We was listening to music. That was just really just what it was.
I love that as well. Okay. Yeah. So then having, gone through a situation where, and I'll just say it bluntly, abandonment happens.
Yeah.
Right. Because those formative years of abandonment. That is abandonment because you're a young kid still. You're not able to fend for yourself at that point.
Yeah.
So having been through that, how did that impact when you started actually really dating then?
Oof. The biggest thing was trust. But then on the other side, it was kind of like, because I watched my mom so much growing up and going through the dating process, a lot of things don't get by me. And that's even to this day, because somebody will try something, I'm like, man, I've seen that move before. You get what I'm saying? Like, I watched that movie already. So, though it shouldn't, and I shouldn't put, my past on my present, but like I said, it's always going to be there, So
of course
it's that. And then being older now, when I date, if it's somebody with children, I'm very sensitive to it. Where I don't expect your time all the time, and I want to make sure, and I need to know from you that your children are first. We're gonna have our fun, we're gonna do our due, but make sure your kids is good first.
I know why you say that, but just for anyone who doesn't quote it, why is that for you? Why is that why is it that you're so intent that the other person's kids got to be first?
Yeah, of course, because in my childhood, I didn't feel like I was, first. What I mean? I dealt with, of course, your mom drop you off so that she can go off and do her thing. And like I said, mama got to have a life too. But just as a child, that's where your mind, goes. So when I date now, it's kind of like when I'm setting plans and stuff like that, if, it's a woman with kids or whatever, make sure the kids first, then we'll do us.
I respect that. So talk to us a little bit more about your dating phases then, because obviously, you're ready to love, but, I'm sure you had been dating in between that time. What's your dating experience been like? What's it been like for you in this dating fields?
As far as like today in time?
Yeah. Well, no. Before the show. Sorry, I should say.
Before the show, and dating was what it was, especially being in Philly. Everything's fast. I date, so it wasn't necessarily a thing of going on the show trying to find, because I was having an issue in that department or whatever. It was really just doing it to do it with some maturity and having a sense. But dating for me was no issue. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
You hit the
nice. Yeah, you hit the thing hit a ting, and I said, what are we hitting? We've hit some place here. Okay. So, which I'm sure and I don't mean it in that way, because I know that obviously most people that come on the show, the dating's not the issue. Finding someone's not an issue.
Right.
So when I'm asking that, what I mean by that is dating's not an issue. So what is the issue in dating? Because you said it's fast, but what is the issue in dating that you've found? Because if you had found the person, we wouldn't be here, right? So
we wouldn't be here.
You wanted to date more maturely. So what has been your experiences of this dating that you've been in? What has been experiences?
If I had to say what the issue was, I would have to say it was just me being single so long and just used to doing my own thing, not answering to nobody and moving how I want to move. Where, in a relationship is, the check-ins and, hey, babe, I'm doing this and stuff like that. So that was the biggest issue, allowing someone else in my space and not afraid to share, hey, well, I got this going on, I'm doing this, versus just worrying about myself. Yeah.
Okay. What has been your most impactful relationship and why?
My most impactful relationship, I would have to say my first one in college.
Okay.
And that was because we had such a great friendship. I bring that along in every other relationship. we got to have a good friendship. We got to be able to communicate, laugh, joke, play around. I don't care if it's a card game, traveling, something. I need that aspect of it, not just, you know, serious. We're dating. This is just what it is, you know, what it is.
Okay, yeah, okay then. So that was the most impactful one for you, college time. Was it a long relationship or?
That was 4 years. That was my, like I said, my first year in college. I was up Penn State. We was up there 2 years, and then I actually relocated to New York because that's where she was from or whatever. So I went out there with her. Yeah, we was out in the Bronx, so I spent some time out there. So I would say that was, you know, the most impactful. And that's when I knew that it with her was an impact, because once I was finished up Penn State, I didn't go home. I went there. It was kind of like, this is somebody that I enjoy being around. Where I was, you know, me, I'm used to being by myself. I didn't mind her in my space or being around her.
She had got inside the armor.
Yeah.
I understand. Okay. So what brought that relationship to an end? Was it distance? Was it you guys just didn't go apart?
Yeah, the distance brought it to an end, and then also school. I decided that's when I transferred to Cheney University. So with her being in New York and me being in Philly, it just made things tough, and we decided, you know, we were still young at that time too. We decided that, you know, that was the best for us.
Okay, I understand that. And did you have any other serious relations after that, like that were as serious as that one, or was it just that one that was the most serious one for you?
Not as serious as that, but I did have some serious relationships. I would say after that, two maybe. Okay. No, I'm gonna say two serious relationships after that.
Okay.
And they were all good. They were long-term, 4 years. So it wasn't like I've had, you know, a bunch of like short relationships. I've definitely had long-term relationships. So I know how the relationship thing worked. Yeah.
See, I'm intrigued because now I'm like, wait, you can do long relationships. You can really do long relationships. It sounds like you really do mature relationships. So what's happening? No. What, I know you like your space, but you've been in long-term relationships. So what's happening?
It was just, I would say, recent. The past couple of years, recently. That's when I was the single part. Was single for 4 years. Of course, you know, you got friends, you got people that you deal with and stuff like that. But as far as like a real relationship, that wasn't there. So with them 4 or 5 years of just doing me, I got used to that. So then when you want to dabble and jump back into it, it's like, I got used to just me and, you know, doing my own thing. It's tough. So unless you find that person that's really going to make you be okay with giving all that away, it doesn't happen.
Okay. No, I get that. Okay, so let's talk Ready to Love then, right? Let's talk Ready to Love because, you know, you've gone on this nationwide show.
Yeah.
And what was your expectations going into the show? Because I know you have watched a little bit of Ready to Love, but what was your expectations going into the show?
Of course, the expectation is to find love, but I went into it just wanting to be open. I ain't want to go into it, you know, just looking for somebody with, you know, just a physical attraction and stuff like that. I wanted to be open to the process. I didn't want to count nobody out right away because they weren't, you know, what I was used to or anything like that. I really wanted to, you know, sit down and have them conversations, because if you just went off the physical, you might miss something.
Yeah.
And I think y'all got to see that a lot with me sitting down and actually having conversations and not just going with the bullshit, I guess, not the curse or whatever, but with the BS or whatever.
I hear that, definitely. So getting onto the show, Mixer, first day.
Yeah.
Let me say first, because you get to meet the cast eventually later on. So let's say the whole cast.
Okay.
Who is your physical type? I'm not asking about how great the personality is. We all know whose personality makes them look better. Who is your
whole cast
type? Yeah, you have the whole cast there. Who is your physical type, my brother?
Get right to it.
Oh yeah, I'm not wasting time, sir. Straight in.
It would be Deanna, actually.
Oh.
And I knew that was going to be the reaction from you. Yeah.
She's a beautiful woman. I can't lie. She's fine.
Yeah, she would be the initial, and then Rose right there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay, so that's your physical type. Fantastic. Now we've got that level playing field. Okay, so first day, Mixer. Who, and it doesn't have to necessarily be physical, but just in terms of just overall, who did you connect with on that first day, Mixer? Who really like caught you, you know, made you want to just be like, okay, I'm intrigued. I want to know a bit more about you.
Walking out, it was just on a physical appearance. It was Tay. If you noticed, that was like my first. I think I walked up and kind of jumped in the middle of her and Lil talking. She was the first, but on the complete, after having conversation and stuff like that, it was Rose.
Okay. So Rose had it. What was it about Rose that caught you?
It was just, you know what? We were sitting down and we were talking, and then, like I said, they didn't show this. She had pulled her phone out and showed me a picture of her, like with her natural hair and stuff like that. And I'm a big fan of just like natural. I love like the natural thing or whatever. And she pulled her phone out and she showed it to me. And it's crazy because my first reaction to it when she showed me that was, wait, why didn't you come like that? Nothing wrong with, the braids that she had and all, what she had going on or whatever. But when I saw that picture in my head, as a man, I was just like, dang, I wish she'd have came like that. And it's funny because, and she ain't gonna give me my credit. After that day, I want to say that's when she started coming like that. And I was just like, she listened.
I like that. Yeah. She's a very beautiful Rose, according to name and to personality and figure. Okay, so for you, first day was really Rose. Anyone else? Rose, Tay, and then anyone else? Just those two, was it?
Yeah, I would say just those two. I had conversation with just about everybody, but off the top, it was just them two.
Okay.
Shanice more so.
Oh yes.
Me and Shanice had a good conversation, but if you guys see, Rose jumped right in there and kind of intercepted. I think we were at the table getting food or whatever, and Rose kind of slid right in there, and then me and her went to go have a sit down there, and it was just like, damn, what happened that quick? But all right, come on, let's go. But me and Shanice had a good conversation, but I felt like overall it's just been like we'd have been great business partners. Okay. Good girl, great girl. I felt like we'd have been great business partners though at the end of it.
Okay, I definitely hear that. Your friend zoned her, business zoned her. I hear it. So on the show then, who was your connections? We know that the show edits in a particular way, but who was your main connections? Why did you connect to them? What was it that they were bringing to the table that made you want to pursue a little bit more on the show?
Gotcha. From the point that we're at with the show, it would be Rose and Angie. Starting with Rose, like I said, we already spoke on the the natural part that intrigued me. And then with me having the interior design background that I love, me and her had that conversation, and she showed me some work. So that's when that started, and she got to speaking about her son, and that was deep because I saw the care there, and like that was something that I was missing as a kid, and that seeing that how she spoke about it was very intriguing. And then there was Angie. Angie came along, I want to say a little later at the block party. Angie being a beautiful girl, she's fun. I felt like she brought like the fun side out of me. So it's definitely two different worlds. It was more laughter with her. We had the what was the date that me and her had? We went on the the Zen date.
Yeah,
that was a cool date. But I would say I would have felt like I wish we'd have did something a little more interactive to show a different side. But I appreciated that date from her as well as the gift she had gave me from her son. But yeah, those were the two.
Okay. So what would you say are the differences between Rose and Angie and what they bring to the table?
Their day and night. What I got from them with Rose, that everything was like passionate, and Angie was more, like I said, more so a little more fun and spicy. So it was that physical attraction there. With Rose, it wasn't a physical attraction right away. It was more so just her story. Yeah.
What did you connect with on Rose's story? I know you guys have guys kind of saw on the camera. You guys talked about a little bit of group home and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, it was that. And no, I ain't want to trauma bond because I see all the news and stuff.
Like, I'm glad you're watching.
Bond, but it definitely wasn't a trauma bond situation because honestly, I just found out that day. And me and her was already connecting. That was news to me. And when she said it to me, I kind of was just like, oh, wow. So that was definitely like, in my back, my fault.
You're good, bro.
Definitely news to me. But like I said, ultimately, it was just the care that she showed, towards her son and her passion towards, interior design and, herself.
Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper with obviously the connection of Angie because we did see you guys have that date where at the end I think she had bought you, if I remember correctly, she had bought you a gift, right, for your son?
Yeah, it was it was a chain with a pendant on it. Had a nice little saying on it. I wish I had it with me. It's in the car. I could keep it in the car on my visor or whatever. But yeah, it just because I didn't think that I had shared that with her. So for her to pop with that gift it blew me away actually when she handed it to me. Because I didn't know what it was, and when I poured it out and saw it, it was just like, oh wow, like sheesh, like kind of like the emotional quick second or whatever, just like damn, like just to show that care. And she's very tight with her family. I learned that moving along. So then I kind of understood why she gave me that gift. She's very close with her family. She has a big family.
I mean, you did look surprised.
Yeah, I was. I was not expecting that at all. When I poured it out, it was kind of like a slow pour out too, and I read it real quick, and was just like, oh wow. so you
I ain't gonna lie. We looked and said,
it was definitely one of those. I kind of turned my face and looked to him. I was like, oh, like almost like. So yeah,
you can tell the truth ain't be free, sir. Was it?
No, that's what it was. It was really just I turned around and was just like, oh, she's been paying attention, and we didn't have that sit down, and I told her that story about that. So for her to come with that gift, I thought that was dope.
Did you think it was a little bit fast?
Fast?
Like Philly.
Yeah, but I mean, the show is. It would have been fast, and I guess in a real dating life. But you got to remember, we doing speed dating on crack, so she got to come with what she got to come with. And she got all her tricks, and if she want to get me over there, she poured that out. It definitely helped.
But how did you? Because you see, you're saying it quite nicely, right? Yeah. But we saw your reaction.
Yeah,
and I think you're being nice. I think you're being kind, and I'm not saying that you're. I think you're being kind. I think you're being nice, and I don't think you need to be, because it's not about being rude. It's about
it's definitely not that. But that was really just an actual reaction to it. When I saw the gift, it was just like wow. But if I had to go back to the when we were at the block party, the physical attraction was crazy, and that the black outfit that she had on, I got to see her in a different light. I think she had the hair different. It was kind of like, okay, Angie, I see you. Versus when I saw her the first couple of times, it was just like we just kind of passed. It wasn't really there. But when I saw her that day, got to see a different view of her. Yeah.
So are we saying that the gift was a Trojan horse? You're laughing because you know I'm telling the truth. We keep it true around here. The audience.
I'm keeping it buck. Overall, I appreciated it.
It felt like a Trojan horse. It felt a bit rushed. It just because that's what it sounds like.
That's what I'm saying. Like in a real dating world, it would have been something that was rushed. But in our situation, I couldn't say that just because, like I said, that was me and her first date. Like I would see her when we was all in the mixer together, but that was me and her first one-on-one. So if that was the move she had to pull out, to really gain my attention, it worked. You hit me with the cam thing when you did with him when you poured the glasses down.
We don't believe you, sir. I mean, I'm just gonna be clear. We don't. Okay. But no, I definitely understand. I hear what you're saying. I do hear what you're saying. I'm being a bit facetious. Okay, so like you said, you know that she's closer to her family and everything as well. What kept you then with your connection with Angie? Then what are some of the things that kept you in that connection with Angie then overall?
Overall, like I said, it was more so the fun side of her. Like she brought that out of me, the physical attraction. Like I said, me and Rose didn't have that. I felt like when me and Rose got together, it was like serious. We looked in each other's eyes, and she was doing her whole thing that she do. I don't know if you guys noticed, when she looked right at you and she was talking real slow. It's like a mesmerizing thing she tries to do with her. And then there's Angie, and she got the eyes too. Angie got some very nice eyes, and she does it as well, but it's a little more fun.
Okay, so Angie's a little bit more fun. You found yourself being more free in terms of being fun in that respect with Angie. She brought that side out of you.
Yeah, definitely brought that side out. Yeah.
Okay. I definitely hear that. Okay, so moving away from Angie, we'll add another curveball in there. Obviously, you like Tay. I mean, when I say you like Tay, you find her attractive. What happened with the Tay connection? Is it because Francisco was out here guarding the posts? Or is it because that's what it sounds like when some of the people were talking about? Like I said, Francisco guarding the post, bro.
That's everybody else's business. That's not me. I think what happened was because when I initially walked out, like I said, she's the first person I saw. I saw the style and everything. Our conversation, I wish they'd have showed it. All the the hiding they're doing, but I wish they'd have showed me and her conversation. We actually had a great conversation, but me and her didn't cross again after that. So kind of like it was just like a dwindling thing. I don't know if it was intentional on their part, maybe, but Yeah, it was that we didn't cross again after that. Like even when we were in the mixers, I felt like it was like an intentional separation. But we definitely had a good conversation. Ain't had nothing to do with Cisco, because I was voting for it, and I would see Cisco's face every time I would say it, because I voted for her. I want to say our first two mixers, and then that's when it dwindled. That's when me and Angie started to get close.
Okay. So what stopped you from pursuing further? Because I'm sure did you guys exchange numbers, you and Tay?
Nah, me and Tay didn't exchange. Like I said, we just had that one talk was really just all it was. And then we went to the house when we had the
little meeting with
the double date with Cam.
Yeah.
And we had that, we were just sitting in a group setting, but me and her didn't do our one-on-one. Maybe if me and her had a one-on-one there, it probably would have sparked and happened, but it didn't happen. Me and Rocky stepped off and had our conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you didn't think to even if there's a group setting, to go and chase up a little bit?
You know how they had things set up, it was how they was going to play it, and they was going to air it their own little way. But yeah, it wasn't there after that date. It just wasn't there no more. Yeah, but like I said, it had nothing to do with Francisco, because I'm all for competition for somebody that I want, but it just wasn't there for me.
And I asked kind of the same question: is it that it wasn't there? Is it because we saw that Tay was locked up already, or is it because there was nothing there for you in general? Which one were we saying?
Nah, and I wouldn't even say that she was blocked off. However, the show make it look that way, but I wouldn't say that she was blocked off. But just for me, I didn't even want to, expand any further on that. I know y'all love her and stuff like that, but just for me, it just
cool. It
didn't happen.
What do you mean? Wait. If you found her attractive, listen, you found her attractive.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, she's a pretty girl. Definitely found her attractive. But like I said, we just had that one conversation, and then we just never crossed again.
So we had one conversation. We didn't think to ourselves, let me get your number while we're here.
Because you can put in a request. You can ask production, hey, can I, expand?
No, forget production.
Stuff like that. But they don't. They do it their own little way.
Wait, so you have to ask production before you can get someone's number?
No, not get somebody's number. But like I said, that conversation that we first had, I wouldn't say it was like a fast conversation. But after that, then me and her never really came across each other again.
Well, I say you didn't like her like that, man. Come on, man. We boys, man. Come on, you ain't like her like that. Come on.
That's what it was. Like I said, I was talking to everybody.
Bro, listen, if you liked her, you'd have got her number the first time. Listen, if I see a ting and I start talking to her, fam, I'm definitely grabbing your number there and then, bro. I know you're the same way. You ain't trying to waste time.
We did, and I think her first conversation, one for me was because we didn't see each other before that. When I came up them steps and I walked out, I felt like I was nervous as hell, and she was right there. Like I said, and she was obviously beautiful. So it wasn't a thing that I spoke to her because she was right there. But our conversation, it just felt like it was just, it was hair. It possibly could have went somewhere. Who knows? But we ain't go any further with that.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Rocky, you and Rocky had a little one-to-one conversation as well. How did that go?
Yeah. Me and Rocky, we had a dope conversation, but me and Rocky was definitely, that's one that I could say was really, through our first conversation, I could tell it was just, a cool friendship.
The friend thing.
I spoke to her as well at the mixer. We just really spoke about, her tattoos and stuff like that, but I didn't really feel, for myself, the attraction there to, expand.
And that's real.
Yeah.
That's real.
Like I said,
you said that. You said that was strength.
Talking to everybody.
But you see how forthright you were. You didn't even have. I didn't even want to even say it. There was no attraction there. But you see how straightforward you were. You was like, there was no attraction.
Very straightforward.
Why couldn't you do that with Tay? I'm just confused, bro.
Because I'm still confused. I'm giving you the straightforward with Tay. It just didn't happen. I'm giving you, and I'm telling you, exactly what happened. We just after that day, it just was hey.
Nah, I'm playing with you. I hear that still. Okay, so the Rocky one was more of a friendship. Yeah. Was there any dark horses that were kind of maybe you were starting to connecting with? Because of course, again, we only see half the show. So was there any dark horses that were starting to kind of creep up a little bit? Because I know you obviously have Rose and you had connection with Angie as well. But was there any other dark horse that were coming up? Because I thought you was even I don't know if you actually had a connection. I'm trying to think. You might have had a conversation. What's her name out of my head?
Sahara.
Yes, Sahara.
You see, I know now that you're watching the show and you're paying attention, so you know exactly what's really going on. Mm-hmm. Me and Sahara came in hot. My first day that I met her, she came in hot. I want to say she snatched my phone out of my hand and put that number in. Yeah.
Yeah, you ain't got time to say no this time.
Yeah, nah, Sahara wasn't playing. But then I found out later that she was a part of the first cast, so it made me kind of think when she snatched the phone, was it a ploy to make sure that she made it to the next episode, or was the attraction really there? So I thought that we had a dope date, man. I don't know why they didn't show that. Me and her got to sit down, and we had a a dope conversation or whatever. We had that, but that went right to the the YouTube exclusives or whatever. We had that date, and me and her actually had a double date. It was like I said, we just speaking on the time. So what's going on now? I had a double date with her and who was it? Francisco, Indiana.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was actually fun, but I just felt like we were just friends having fun. The physical attraction a little bit was there, or whatever, but I didn't feel like it actually would have turned into a relationship.
Why?
It just wasn't there. I know you're gonna hit me with the why, but if I had to just speak for myself, I didn't think of her in that way. I just seen it would have been.
What wasn't working for you? What wasn't working for you? Because you have a type. So
yeah, I definitely have a type, and like I said, I ain't want to put nobody in a type thing where I'm not going to deal with you because I have a type. But I just didn't feel like it would have built into something seriously. It would have just been more so us just having fun. And I wanted to really do this process with intention. I ain't want to just do the fun thing,
I hear it. Was it too much fire for you?
Yeah. She said definitely wasn't too much fire. I'm definitely one. I love the fire. I mean, I ain't a fireman and nothing like that. But I'm definitely one. I love aggression. I love the fire, fiery attitudes and stuff like that. But it just wasn't there for me and her. Nah, me and her good. We still talk to this day. We joke, we laugh around and play and stuff like that. It's really, it was just that.
Okay. No, I get it. I totally
understand. I ain't want to do like no forcing.
I get you. I get you saying. Okay. So then obviously, Sahara was on your was there anyone else that you would have dated that we didn't see? Because of course the show doesn't show every single date. I don't know why I thought you had a date with Jay's girl, and I'm trying to remember her name.
Kiara.
Kiara, yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, you did. Okay, so my brain's not crazy.
You're definitely watching. Attention. We you counting the dates too. That was the skating date, and me and her had to sit down, cool conversation. Me and her sat down. We spoke. We actually exchanged numbers. Yeah, me and Kiara.
Now, how you exchange numbers on this one, sir?
Say it again.
How you exchange numbers on this one? You had time.
I knew you was going to jump back to that. This one, you know what it is? I was a little more comfortable. It wasn't the first day. Okay. It wasn't the sun beaming on me. I knew that I had the time and could actually sit down, and it wasn't the first day. I was, like I said, a little more comfortable, whatever. Me and her actually had a cool conversation. I put that date request in too. It didn't come along, but like I said, the production and all that, they doing things how they want to do it. But me and her, yeah.
That's a shame, yeah, because you guys you did look good, and I think she was open up to you as well. So
yeah, me and her had that conversation, and also, darn it, I feel bad for damn, I'm catching a mind blank right now because so much going on.
Girl in a blue dress.
No, because I'm trying to give everything that I can.
You're good.
We'll jump back to. I'll jump back.
I was thinking of Shanice, but
nah,
you didn't get to date Shanice. You was in the ring with her.
Didn't have a one-on-one date. I guess because the name's out there now. Was in Akeisha, her real name. Me and her had to sit down at skating as well. That was when she called me beautiful. Said that took me by surprise. I had never been called that before. And you as a man, you expect handsome or something like that. So when she said that, it was just like, whoa! But I made sure that I jumped back right away with the the compliment. Me and her exchanged numbers too. We were actually looking forward to going on a date, but as you guys saw, I think that was when she got eliminated. Next round, so that didn't happen.
It's tight, man. It's tight.
You always we were looking forward to that. I actually spoke to her after the elimination. Though she was mad. She thought that Naeem had everybody on the bus to get her out of here, and that wasn't. And that definitely wasn't.
Insane. You're talking to people after they've been eliminated. That's what you see what I mean?
Yeah. Like I said, that definitely wasn't the case. Because the elimination process is tough. Nobody wants to get eliminated, so I definitely reached out to her. Because like I said, I was looking forward to that date, and when we got to where were we? The block party. I was looking for her there, and that's when I found out that she had got eliminated. And I was just like, all right, damn. So, you know, that one's gone. Just to, you know, just to give y'all a little more, you know, from, you know, backstory and stuff that you don't get to see on, you know, on the show.
No, I hear that. No, I get that. I get that as well. And I think that's a cool thing as well.
Yeah. Like she let, like, as soon as I sat down, she let me know right away that she was interested, because I feel like she was waiting for the second batch, and you know, she's sitting there, she was staring at me, so I knew that she was interested. But like I said, she got eliminated. If it wasn't that next day or whatever, she didn't make it to, you know, when we got to the block party.
I definitely hear that. Now, did Keisha tell you her true age? You don't say anything. That laugh alone tells us everything we should know. You should
I hope so. I mean, if that's what she's rocking with, I hope so.
I love that. Obviously, you had a run-in with Diana. You know, I said the same thing to Cam. Cam got into running. It looked like you got steamrolled too, and I told Diana, listen, I love you, Diana. You're the finest babe since I know, but you've been running niggas over. I need you to stop. But I want to know. I want to know what happened between you and Diana. Like, was there more to the situation than what we saw? Was there a previous conversation? Did you guys have something else happen? Because they just threw us straight into a wrestling match between you and I. Like, literally started, you know.
Before I jump into this, let me take this sip of water because I'm gonna give you all of it.
Damn.
You know, we love a good backstory, so let's get into it.
That's right. Let's please.
We love a good backstory. So if you go back actually to episode 3 when we all met at the mixer, if you pay attention, because I'm one, when I be watching these shows, I pay attention to the background, because that's when you get to see people that's having connections that you're not seeing in the forefront. Yeah. Me and her actually had a sit down talk, and I got to learn a little bit more besides the firefighter side of her. We actually was speaking about life after work and stuff like that. We were sitting back there, and she brought up, this is how I'm gonna get to the horseback riding date. You know, I was just asking her interests, and she brought up horses and said that, you know, when she retires, she wants to get a big house with a ranch and, you know, horses and this and that. And it was a particular horse that she was, you know, interested in. And me, when I'm talking to somebody, you know, I pay attention. So I'm taking my mental notes, you know, while we talking. Me and her, we exchange numbers. So then when it's time to actually get to the horseback riding date, after me and her had that conversation that day, production had reached out to me and were like, was anybody, you know, you were interested in and want to have a date? You know, I text them right back. Yeah, me and Deanna had a great talk. Can me and her go on a date? And I actually picked the date out. And to tell y'all a little more, the date that I picked was horseback riding. So that's why when I watched the show and they made it, they kind of, I guess, you know, they're going to put their own little plot twist on it. Like, she picked the date out and stuff like that. That wasn't what it was. It was definitely, that was on me. Because like I said, I pay attention. And I made sure that the horse that she actually spoke of was at the date. So when I actually got to the date and I walked up, and if you hear her say, oh, I got Goliath, blah, blah, blah. I'm walking up. In my head, I wanted to let her know that I set this up. You know, I not in the thing of giving me credit, but, you know, this is, but still, you know, you want to say this or whatever. And I wanted to say, I made sure that this horse was here. But it was kind of like she just jumped to dibs or whatever. So I just instantly kind of like, I felt the date honestly going a little left there, if I had to be blunt. Because it was just like, damn, like I just got here. So then when she, you know, she busts her jokes about the little horse. The horse wasn't little, because when I'm on my way to the date, they actually called me to check, and they let me know that they had that horse there and that they had the, you know, the second horse, but they asked me my height and my weight, because they want to make sure that both horses that are out, either of us can get on. So had I been too big or whatever, or too heavy to get on the second horse, I'd have never got on it. So, yeah, when I walked up and she hit me with that, I was just kind of like, well, all right. But then I guess that's when I see it, and they made it look how they made it look. It makes sense or whatever, but that wasn't, you know, what happened.
So obviously then you guys get into a contention in the sense of you not being as strong as she wants you to be. I think she was kind of highlighting, or at least hinting at. Yeah. Was that how the conversation actually went, or was that again an edit in a way?
What y'all saw was actually how the conversation went. You know, we sat down, and like I said, I felt, and I didn't know where it came from, because we were actually texting up into that day. I actually, you know what, let's keep it a buck. That morning or whatever, because, you know, like I said, you don't know your dates. So me and her, I had texted her, hey, what's up, blah, blah, blah. And she had asked me, hey, you got any dates today? And it was just kind of, for me, I felt like all of our interaction when we were texting, we would text a couple words, but it always just led back to who else you feeling you got other dates. I didn't want to focus on other people, just like I wasn't asking her what other dates you got on, because my focus was just, just straight her. So when she asked me that, I told her no. But that was the thing. I didn't get the call yet to let me know. Like, I knew I was going to have dates or whatever, but they didn't call me just yet. So I told her no. Literally a couple minutes after I had spoke with her, that's when they hit me and told me about the dates that I had set up for my day. But I didn't want to reach out to her and let her know, because it's kind of like that shock factor. I wanted to get there and her be surprised to see me, or actually be surprised to see her, versus knowing, you know what's going on or whatever. So when I got there, she questioned me on it. I thought you ain't had no dates today. This is what, what's not showing or whatever. And I was just kind of like, I ain't want to tell you because I wanted you to be surprised when I got here. So it was kind of like before we even sat down, it was already, I knew when we sat down, it was going to go the route that it went. Even as far as like when we were riding the horses and she said, I ain't know how to control the horse and blah, blah, blah. It was just like, why are we going here? But I ain't want to control the horse, honestly. That was my first time actually going professional horseback riding. From Philly, like, we got horses here, but we just got the horses in North Philly where you get on and the person walk you. Yeah. I never been like on a horse where my feet is strapped in and I'm actually doing the guidance. Because before the date started, they gave us like 10 minutes and they actually taught us how to ride a horse. And that was my first time doing it. So when we were riding it, I was so caught up in enjoying this experience that, honestly, like I said, I wasn't trying to control the horse. I was enjoying it. My horse went to eat out the tree. I didn't know horses eat out the trees. So when he did it, I was intrigued by that. So like I said, it wasn't a thing of me wanting to control the horse. But if that's how you felt, so be it or whatever. But I just felt like I'm gonna find my way to take my shot, and she did it in the, in the interviews. So then, once we sat down, like I said, that was what it was, and I hate that it went that route, because I was actually looking forward to that date and just having a great date, but it went that route.
So obviously, when you guys sit down, when you said it went down that route, what route did it go for you personally? Because like I said, it felt like you got railroaded. I can't lie to you. Shout out to Dion.
Yeah, it did. Even production, because I could see them in the background. They were even like, it was like they was watching a boxing match, for real, for real. They were shocked. But the purpose of that date was to find the 3 things in a relationship that that you just don't like or that you're looking for. So when I had asked her the 3 things that she said she needed in a relationship, was she needed her man to know that her job was number 1. She needed her space, and that she wasn't going to communicate all the time. She'll text when she texts. And I was just kind of like, huh? Like, this is ready to love. Like, we're supposed to be, it's not ready to like or ready to lust. We're supposed to be in a mindset of grown folks loving marriage and thinking that. And then I was also just kind of like, if I said those 3 things, I need my space and my job is most important, the viewers watching it be like, get him out of here. He needs to go home because he's not here for a woman. Why is he even here? So I didn't see it no different with her saying it. So I was just kind of like, wow, that was mind blowing. But all right. Sorry about that. I keep getting these calls or whatever. But it was kind of like,
just Diana calling you right now, telling you to get your ass off the line.
Right in the middle. It's kind of like, right,
she said, "Stop calling, man."
But yeah, it was that. So then when it got into about the job thing, it wasn't me, and everybody had their own perception of our date. It was me. It wasn't me trying to knock down her job, because her job is obviously very important. But I don't believe that your job should be more important than your relationship or your family. That's all I was trying to get her to understand. And I felt like because everything that she led with was about her job, I think that's why it hit so heavy, but it shouldn't have. And I felt like she took it personal. So then that's when it kept rolling from there. And everything was just, after that, it was really just a boxing match that came out of my mouth. But all I was trying to get her to understand was, every job has its sense of importance. And I'm one that respects the janitor to the CEO. I'll never waver from that. So you're not going to say to me, my job is important because I'm out there putting out firefighters, and not like I'm just answering the phone or filling out papers and stuff like that. Because now I took it as you're taking a diss to the people that's at your job that answers the phone call, They're very important. They go home with a heavy heart every day. I'm sure they hear crazy stories over the phone. And then I also remember, when she took the shot at Cam about, I don't date firefighters. It's kind of like, well, if you don't date firefighters, why would I want to date a firefighter? That was just the main thing that I took from that. And
they give you them birthday calls, boy.
They will be making a
The
call.
birthday, birthday weekend. It's a birthday weekend. I understand, bro. Don't worry.
Yeah, so it was really kind of like that. So why would I want to date you if you're not going to date a firefighter? Because I would feel like you as a firefighter, you know that another firefighter is someone that's, you know, responsible about their business and, you know, setting a good career. So why not? I felt like maybe that was an opportunity for her to just be a little more honest with, like, maybe because how it came out made it to me. This is how I might be wrong, but this is how I took it. She might have had a bad past relationship with a firefighter. But I felt like that was an opportunity on the show, and then also for herself to get that baggage off of her or speak on it. Because we all didn't have to be on the show with a tough interior or come off perfect. It's okay to be vulnerable. That's just how I saw it. It's okay to be that way. But she didn't want to take that route. She went the route that she went. And like I said, when we had our set down, it just turned into a boxing match going back and forth. But I was pissed when she went into the vote and told Tommy that I said something that I clearly didn't say. Like, sheesh, like, you're going to go into the vault with a lie that could possibly get me eliminated. But gladly enough, I had, you know, good relationships with other people that one, you know, hiccup or a lie that you took to the vote didn't matter.
Did you guys have a conversation after that?
You guys will see in the future.
Okay.
Stay tuned to August.
Okay.
Stay tuned to August. You know what? Something that I can say. Stay tuned to August, but when the date was done, when we got up, production was really, I think they just felt like that scene between me and her was going to be the one. They were so surprised at that. Like I said, I was too. That they walked over, they talked to me about it, whatever, this and that. I think we both shared our thing, and I'm going to keep it a buck. I actually text her. And then, like I said, this is me just keeping 100. I actually text her right after the date, like, I'm not sure what happened. You know what? Let me bounce back. Because the whole thing started with the communication thing.
Yes.
So let's jump back to that. So with that was just kind of like, I don't like to be preconceived. Like, it was just like, that's your, because if you see me when I sit down, I'm getting comfortable. I'm smiling the whole time. And I'm not one that usually smile. I'm usually one with a straight face. I'm ready to go. I'm taking off my jacket. And she's like, you know what you give me? I'm still smiling. Like, what I give you, blah, blah, blah.
I think it's gonna be a good thing.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it was just like, wow. But I will say, the way that she delivered it, and I would love for her to speak on this too, I don't think that was her thought. I don't think she thought that. I think production fed her that, because when I think about it, I remember I said something close to that to Rocky about biting my tongue and my mouth being full of blood because I don't share certain things. But that wasn't a thing about me having a communication issue. It's about, we know who we can say certain things to and people that can give and not take. And I'm one that is very, I don't like the bickering and the back and forth and arguing. So I feel like if it's something on my mind that I need to say to you and I know you're not going to handle it well, sometimes I will bite my tongue, but I don't feel like that's a communication thing. So I think they fed her that and she fed it to me just the wrong way. So with the way that she delivered it, if she'd have said it a different way, I feel like the date probably would have went great. But it was just the way that she delivered it, that then everything after that was just, we were just battling. So it never had a chance to level out because it was already at this point. So that's how that happened.
No, it makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Now it makes sense to you, right?
It makes a lot of sense.
Because I'm watching, I'm just like, dang, it's kind of like, dang, we really up there.
Yeah, they just threw us into a thing, and she just started hitting you, and I was like, wait, what's going on? What did we miss? Did you cuss around on the horses or something? What going on?
Yeah, like, I was taken away. Like I said, you could see me smiling, and then it was just, you seen the smile slowly go into a, what the, how did we get here? What do you mean? That's what I give you. Because clearly me and her was, like I said, we exchanged numbers. We were texting. And like I said, if you go back to episode 3, you see us in the back laughing and joking, having a conversation. I forget who they were panned on at the time, but you'll see us in the back talking. And that's when we were talking about the horse thing. And like I said, that's when I reached out quick to production. And they were working on it for a while. And then finally I got the call and they was like, yeah, we got the horse date set up. Be here. And I was like, all right, bet, here we go.
Was the communication good?
Huh?
Was the communication good?
Her communication through text, yeah. It was, you know what? She did text me. With the first day that we did text, she did say to me, you know, that she's busy and stuff like that. So I never expected when I text her to get the text right back or to see the ... like here come the incoming text. Because like I said, I understood her job. So even through us texting before we sat down there, she should have knew that I understood what she had going on. But like I said, I felt like she jumped right into the defense because I was trying to explain to her the importance of all jobs, but she wanted her job to be such a hierarchy, which I don't know. So it went the right route, and you guys got what you saw.
I totally understand.
Yeah.
I get that. Okay. Last obviously connection was Rose, obviously, right? We didn't go deeply into Rose. You know, you guys got, you know, had conversations about some of the past that you guys had as well. She obviously let you know about children, etc., going forward as well. Tell us a bit more about this connection with Rose, because like I said, it was more serious. So what was that connection like for you, and how was it developing for you up until the point, obviously, the midway section of the show?
Point that you guys see. I felt like probably with Rose, when me and her sat down, we had the most intentional conversations. We could definitely feel that we had some. I really knew that she was interested. It wasn't just a physical thing where she was just sitting and we were just attracted to each other. I really felt like we did have some, because our conversations were passionate, and we really spoke on, like I said, our past. Even though I had found out about her group home experience, episode 6 or whatever, but even before that, it was just always our conversations made sense. It wasn't just us just blabbering and laughing because we're nervous on the camera or whatever.
So it was positive conversations.
Yeah, definitely positive
in terms of that connection.
We, like I said, me and her exchanged numbers, so we texted a lot. We even called on the phone, spoke with each other. But just showing the passion that she had with the relationship between her and her son, that was just so dope to me that I was really drawn to it. You know, even with him, you know, being older, it was just like, y'all really got a dope connection. Like even when we were filming, if her son texted her or called her while we were filming, with her, it was forget everything that was going on. Hold on, y'all got to step to the side. And I was one that paid attention to that and was like, okay. So shout out to her for that. Yeah.
So for you, obviously, because I know her stance on children was slightly different, right? She may not be able to carry a child to term, so she was just letting people know, right? What was the conversation for you guys, and how did you anticipate? Because I know she had almost 2 different conversations with Fritz. I think she's trying to get rid of him. But,
2 totally different conversations.
She's trying to get rid of Fritz. But for you and Rose, what was that?
That conversation it was
for you guys.
Yeah, before we jumped into even the part about adoption, of course, we want to go the regular process way. But if that didn't work for her, dealing with things that women deal with pregnancy and stuff like that, I was very open to the possibility of having to adopt, and that may come from my past and being around families that that pulled me in and stuff like that, and understanding that kids still need love, no matter their background and stuff like that. So I was open to that, if that had to be the route that she had to go. But of course, we was gonna try, the original way first.
Of course. Yeah. Okay, so that was, so you guys' conversation was quite calm then compared to the Fritz one. It was okay. You didn't suggest like Fritz did. Oh, I know he put it away. He's probably got his call. Sorry. Yeah. That's right. You didn't suggest a surrogate like Fritz did.
Nah, me and her never spoke about surrogate. That ain't even come up.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, we just spoke about adoption.
Okay. And so we see you two. So at a moment where you're halfway through the show, who is your leading connection?
Halfway through the show, my leading connection is Rose. Yeah. And then Angie, number 2, where we're at right now.
Okay. I'll definitely hear that. In terms of the men's lounge and the boys, how did you find that, navigating that space? Because everyone's got their agendas, because they got their person they want to keep in, they want to, as well. What was that like for you, navigating that space with the men?
Is that just being in the men's lounge and here and there?
Yeah, just in the men's lounge. Just in the men's lounge.
For me, I ain't take nothing personal. Like I was open with the guys. I would let them know, bro, we here, this gonna be competitive. Yeah, all the guys do you. So when I would hear experiences that people might have had with Rose or Angie, or the dates that I was gonna, future come on to, I ain't taking no way, because that's your experience. I just got to make sure, when I come in, it's my time to date, that I do me. I wasn't worried about. I ain't taking nobody personal. Wasn't worried about nobody.
when you okay, so that's interesting. So it you don't feel like it affected your perception hearing
Nah,
another
I was
man?
gonna have my own process.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like when you go to the Tay and Francisco thing, that ain't. I can't even speak on that. I ain't even think that.
Well, I mean, you didn't get her number, so
Yeah,
it's not.
but that had nothing to do with old boy. But yeah, it's just a busy Saturday. But I
It's a
definitely
weekend.
didn't. I ain't going with that thought process of, oh, where they're having a good time with this person. Let me draw away from that. I never thought that.
Obviously, Cam got into a situation with Fritz. Was it a consensus? The guys also agree, or was it just a case of like it's just Cam and Fritz?
For me, it was Cam and Fritz. I laughed about it because I'm sitting right there next to Francisco. I seen it coming. Cam was sitting there, and Cam sitting back like this, and I could see him staring at this is Cam. This is what Cam does. I see him staring at Fritz or whatever as Fritz was talking to. I forget who he was. Might have been Naeem or whatever. Whoever was on his side that he was talking to, and I seen it. So I knew when Cam did it that he was about to to go off or whatever. So I expected that. I laughed about it. It had nothing to do with me.
Anything else that happened on the show that we're not aware of in the first half of the show?
As far as
we
myself,
didn't get privy to that important. Yeah, because sometimes the show be editing things out.
Like I said, just besides the missing dates that they threw to, because man, I had a lot of dates. The missing dates that they threw to, the exclusives or whatever. Everything that you're seeing is real. It's me. Like I said, I wanted my process to be genuine. I wanted to be open. I wanted to not to say give everybody a chance, but I want to be open to learn everybody, not just if I wasn't physically attracted to you, off the rip.
You said so you had a lot of dates. Who did you have the most dates with?
My most dates in total it's funny because it actually started with Sahara and then it shifted to with Rose.
Ooh, okay. So Rose, Sahara and Rose. Okay.
Yeah.
Any date that was really good but necessarily didn't lead to a connection? Was there any date that you had that was really good that didn't lead to connection?
Of course, with Sahara, it was just like we just didn't have it, but the dates were cool. But like I said, that was just me being open, and even if I wasn't attracted where I wanted to take it there, I was still open to having a conversation and getting to know you and see where it could have possibly went, and even though it didn't go anywhere.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah, especially like I said, who knows, the skating date was dope. Like that was real dope. Me and Sahara had a lot of interaction there. Who knows what happened with it? Who knows? They might put it on the second end. I don't know, but yeah. And that's another thing I'll speak on too, as far as like the visual merchandising manager. When that popped up, when they introduced me, I was kind of like, "What is this, visuals manager?" Because honestly, I'm an entrepreneur. That's what my title should have said. And I thought my intro was going to be what we worked on, which was my clothing brand. Because we went up to my shop and we was up there for about 5 hours shooting this. And so when I came on, I thought that was going to be my introduction or whatever, and actually showing who I am. So when that popped up, and then I saw pictures that y'all took from my Instagram, I think they were old basketball pictures, and then me doing the Adidas training was showing people, how to put the things together. It was kind of like, what is that? I didn't know that was. I was shocked by that. That was new to me.
Yeah, that's something that they like to take creative license for, which is taking the mickey, I think, most of the time.
Yeah, it was kind of like that ain't it, but that's what they chose to do. I would love to know why they chose to do that. I know they want to create characters, but I'm not one to be created. Like I said, with my purpose of doing the show, the 3 purposes for real was honestly when I got the call to do it was introduce myself to a new world, people that don't know me, and for people that do know me, maybe getting a side of me, that you don't know, and then just being real for real. And also, like I said, with my background coming from the group home and stuff like that, these opportunities don't come along often. So I wanted to show the kids that is coming up, or even people that's been through and sitting back and maybe going through something now, that the possibility of something may break through for you. Because look, check me out.
Difference on that. Okay. Well, listen, I think you've eloquently broke us into this season as well.
I wanted to make sure I did that with you. Like I said, you do good reviews, so I wanted to make sure I did that.
I appreciate my dog. Thank you for that, man. And we'll continue doing those reviews, man. Because, like I said, Ready to Love is such a powerful market, it's powerful platform. And when it goes right, it's amazing.
Give me 1 second. 1 second.
Oh, no worries, man. No worries. Brother's got people coming to his house and calling him. It's probably one girl. Oh, we're hearing the girl's voice. Ooh. I guess he didn't end up with anybody on the show because he got a girl coming around right now. It's early
My bad.
afternoon.
Sorry about that. That was my neighbor.
Your neighbor that sounds sweet like that? Mm-hmm. Sir.
It's just a neighbor.
I ain't got a neighbor that sound like that either.
Don't create
something. Listen, it sounds like I need to get you off as quickly as possible. But listen, anything that you're doing right now that we can support, get behind, and back.
Yeah, you know, my biggest thing is just, you know, my clothing brand. Like I said, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm working on that. It's called Love Accordingly, LOVE.
Okay.
I spell accordingly a little different, ACRDNGLY, and that was just me just wanting to break down accordingly and not have it the word so long. I'm getting my website back together, and like I said, all my graphics and stuff like that, I'm still working on that, making sure I get stuff licensed and taken care of so nobody could, you know, steal all my ideas and stuff like that. But that's to come for sure.
Okay. So is the clothing brand already up? Can we follow it on Instagram?
Yeah, it's already up. You can check out the website. It's loveaccordingly.com. I got a couple pieces on there, but give me like I would say a couple weeks, I'm gonna really have the rest of my stuff really loaded up. Like I said, I don't want to put up too much because people will see your design and stuff like that and be quick to steal it, you know, run off with it. So I just want to make sure I got everything trademark and stuff like that. You know, as far as my bear, you'll see it there in the background there on my wall.
Sick. I love that. Okay. Yeah. Well, listen, we appreciate you very much, Hussein, as well, for coming up in here respectfully. And no, it's a pleasure, man. It's an honor to have you on here and just giving us the fullness of your experience, halfway through. So we'll definitely have you back on there after when it comes back on. We'll be able to
then I can get the answers that
the fullness
you're really looking for.
You know what I mean? So
the whole bill instead of
the whole rule.
I can give you,
Exactly, and I appreciate what you have shared as well. So, yeah, for real. Audience, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an amazing conversation with myself and Hussein. Make sure you guys are tuning in for Ready to Love Part 2 in August. We hope they're going to stick to their promise so we can entertain ourselves and have fun during the summer time as well. But Hussein, thank you again.
Second half get crazy. Second half, man. Yeah.
I'll be hearing. That's probably why apparently is our second half.
Second half union, man. It's going to get crazy.
Listen, Hussein's promise is going to get crazy, so let's make sure we're tuning in record numbers as well. All right, audience, thank you very much. Like, share, subscribe, click on that wonderful bell button. Support our brother Hussein as well. Go on his Instagram, support him there, and follow his website as well. I appreciate you guys. So we'll see you again very, very soon.
All right, everybody. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.